Hello, Shane McCusker here, Intelligence Software. This morning I'm joined with Lorna O'Brien of O'Brien Recruitment. Lorna, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Well, thanks, and you, Shane?
I'm wonderful. Lorna, this has been a theme with some of my videos of late. There's a bit of a dark cloud hanging over the recruitment industry in South Africa with the proposed legislation that was drafted in December, as I understand. What's your take on what's happening? Is this actually going to come in, and what's going to happen?
Well, it's very interesting that you ask, I think, Shane. Today is the opening of Parliament, and we are all waiting for our State of the Nation address from President Zuma, and apparently it's going to be completely focused on job creation, which is in contradiction, in essence, to what the proposed things are that they've put through to Parliament. The bills which they're looking at amending is Labour Relations, Basic Conditions of Employment, and the Employment Equity Act, all three of which is very restrictive, firstly on business, and predominantly on business. It stands to potentially stop the labour broking industry in the country, as they did in Namibia, as well as to place severe restrictions on permanent employment and the permanent recruitment industry in South Africa also. So we wait and see.
And how real is that fear?
The fear is real. I think that it has unquestionably affected the labour broking and the temp industry in 2008 and 2009. We've seen this coming for a long time, and everyone breathed a sigh of relief when the Constitutional Court overruled the Namibia labour broker ban, assuming that that would mean the end of it for us, which it hasn't been. And every now and then you get a bit of relief, thinking actually they've realised the Bakkie Brigade does need to be more closely monitored, and they need to put certain restrictions in place within the industry and to monitor it a little bit more closely, but it doesn't call for a banning. And then all of a sudden you hear they're back on it. So no, it's very real, and I think that we are all holding our breath to wait and see.
Well, is holding our breath all we can do? Is there anything you can do to prepare yourself for the inevitable, or anything you can do to try and stave off this impending doom?
Well, I think that we're very fortunate that we have certain bodies, being APSO and CAPES, which are doing a huge amount of work for the industry. From an individual perspective, yes, I think there are things that we can do. We have an email address that we've all been asked to basically write into to view our opinion. Up until the end of February, they are basically taking comments from the public. I think it's worthwhile getting in touch with the newspapers, just actually making it understandable to everyone. I think that the clients, to a certain degree, don't realize that possibly the impact that it can have on their business. It's not just labour broking. They're proposing that within a 14-day period, every permanent vacancy needs to be reported, which, there are thousands of vacancies. And in a country where you're sitting with 25% unemployment, you actually want it to be as fluid as possible. You don't want to be stalling it. So I think, yes, we can try and be quite active at this stage, sitting in on any of the public talks that they're having, writing letters. That's about it.
One of the proposals, as I understand it, is that whenever a position becomes available, a permanent position obviously, because temporary positions will no longer be available, that every employer must notify the government. The government is going to set up a global job board, and then everybody looking for work will go through the government. To what extent do you think the South African government is capable of operating the whole recruitment industry?
They are not capable of doing it. I think that you're talking about thousands and thousands of jobs that are going to be moving in and out. It will be reported, the same job will be reported 5 or 6 times. If I have a client that's working through 4 consultancies or 4 recruiters, the client will report it, and 4 recruiters are going to report it. So that alone means that they are sitting doing work 5 times over for the same position. They're also saying that they will obviously give us candidates, which in essence is going to be paid for out of UIF, which is obviously our unemployment fund is, from what I understand, almost bankrupt. So I don't know how they're going to have the funds for that. And there also is a situation where obviously the fees will come back to the recruiters themselves, would have to obviously pay a higher levy or tax somewhere along the line.
So, I mean, you and I both know how difficult it is you have a vacancy to fill and you're trying to fill it. We feel that pain on a daily basis. To what extent is the government just blindly underestimating the difficulties of trying to operate such a scheme?
Well, they must be underestimating it, otherwise they wouldn't be doing it. I think that it's a control, as we've been calling it, it's a big brother type of setup that they're aiming towards, which goes completely against free business. And we just have to hope that when they actually sit down and look at it, they realize that it is not something that's workable. And as I say, I think that with APSO and CAPES doing the work that they're doing for us, hopefully they will be able to stall it a little bit. And then they need to put certain restrictions in place. You know, especially on the labour broking side. The permanent recruitment side, I don't believe there's any reason to restrict it. It is free business and it needs to operate as it is. On the labour broking side, I believe that there are a lot of temporary employees who have been exploited and that need to be protected further. That they need to do, and everyone needs to take responsibility for taking on the staff and for treating them correctly. But on the permanent side, I don't believe anything should be done.
Thank you very much, Lorna. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and I look forward to speaking to you again in the very near future.
Great. Thanks a lot, Shane. Take care.